So, with things, missions, and stuff like that being a little bit broken, I decided to go in a different direction. Literally. I decided to go exploring once again in the Caterpillar, but this time without the mishaps of leaving myself stranded in space by accidentally stepping off my ship while in quantum. What I wanted to do was make the journey from Crusader all the way to Microtech, right across the solar system, and just to experience that and to travel that distance and see what it was like. And so I'm going to be kind of rambling here a little bit because this is going to be a long trip, a real long trip. So here we go. We're kind of aimed in that direction. And now we're zooming out. Once again, the new map, the new star map, so much better than the old one. But that's where we're going. All the way across the map. Arguably, I would say the furthest point that we can reach right now away from Olisar. Some people might say, well, technically it's this, technically it's that, fine, whatever. But this is a pretty damn long trip. And I was not prepared for how long this was. I played around with these things a little bit, but it helped reinforce a lot of the ideas I had formed about Star Citizen, a lot of the expectations that I had. But I think that it kind of brought up new things that I think I've talked about before, certainly in other videos, but it kind of made these things much more important. And so I'm going to talk about a few of them while we're doing this. Now, we're hopping down the elevator here, and we are in the lower cabin, I guess the captain, first officer's cabin of the Caterpillar. Also, that little panel right below us is the tractor beam for that side of the ship. And we're just taking our time to explore, because time is something that we have a lot of. You know, there's this shower shitter combo, but right there in the corner, notice that. That's an interesting feature. On commercial ships, when you're traveling through space, they actually give you, an armory, an area to store weapons and things, because when you're traveling these long distances, you would hate to get to somewhere where you may need, a supply of assault rifles, ammunition, that sort of thing, and then not have a space to store them, When you're dealing with gameplay areas this immense, it would be kind of important to have those facilities built into the ship. This has become one of my favorite parts of the Caterpillar too. This is of course where you operate the tractor beam for this side of the ship, but it's also a bit of an observation deck. I really like that. But once again, there's ample little storage closets here and there for mostly spare parts on the ship, but there are storage areas for other things as well. But once again, it is a Drake ship, so it is extremely Spartan in its interiors. And then all of a sudden, right here, I start running. I get this bright idea. You know what? I want to go get in the front turret, and I want to see that view for a while, because that's probably going to be amazing. And once again, time is on my side here. When you read comments that people make and they say, "Oh well, if I find out you're in this ship, well, I'm going to bring that ship and I'm going to kick your ass, blah blah blah." No, you're not. You're not, because by the time you get there, it's probably all over and done with. God forbid you're in another star system altogether when you start. Yeah, these turrets don't work all that fast. They're a little bit yikers right now, but hopefully that's something we can deal with in the future. But when people talk about, well, I'll just get this ship, I'll just get that ship, it's never going to happen. Never going to happen, dude. Because by the time they get there, it's probably going to be all over. Like if my caterpillar here were all of a sudden to come under attack from a hammerhead or even a reclaimer or something like that, by the time help got there, it would already be all over. Never mind the fact that if you can even jam distress transmissions, which is something that has been hinted at many times, how are you even going to know where to go and how to find your way to that location, right? Kind of makes you think about the Kraken again, doesn't it? Because now all of a sudden you're looking at it and you're thinking, probably be much more handy to have that help where you need it, when you need it, rather than, uh-oh, I'm under attack. Let me get on Discord and start rallying the troops. Oh, no, sorry, you're dead. And half an hour later, your friends can come and pick over your wreckage, if they can even find it. And that's another thing to think about. When we're talking about these immense travel distances, think about all the space in between all these travel distances. Like, let's say I cut out the quantum drive right here and then turn and go towards Arcorp. Now I can make a bookmark going in that direction if I get halfway to Arcorp, somewhere in just empty space, some place that I've saved, and I can make a few of these by kind of quantuming to different locations, cutting the drive, quantuming to another, and then creating these places where there aren't, that are in between the straight lines between Microtech and Crusader, Hurston and Crusader, that sort of thing. I can create these own little personal spaces. Here's an interesting bug that I've noticed a lot in the PTU, actually. Let me just quickly say that you can see through certain surfaces within ships. I'm not sure if that's, I don't know what that is, but that's a weird bug that I've been noticing a lot lately in the latest build of the PTU. But considering all this cool shit, don't worry, I'm careful. I'm not going to make the same mistake again. But yeah, I've been noticing a lot of that bug. But anyways, when you're talking about making bookmarks at all these different points where there isn't just a direct travel point that takes you right over it, how is someone going to find you if you don't want to be found? Now, they might be able to use sensors to eventually scan you down, but if you're hopping from point to point to point, and we're talking about distances this large, unless you fall asleep on the keyboard for a few hours, the chances of you being found when you don't want to be found, weird thing that these commercial ships have these gun racks. But anyways, yeah, if you don't want to be found, you're not going to be found. I mean, think about it. Just think about the volume of that space. I mean, it's a size, it's a volume that is almost impossible to imagine. I mean, this is enough time to go and do a video tour of the Caterpillar. Like, hey guys, look at this. Hey guys, look at that. Hey, look at this. This opens, this closes. That's obviously going to be a storage space, blah, blah, blah. I could do that whole video in the time it takes to make this trip, and I'm only halfway. Think about that for a second. Now, it's entirely likely that once this is considered the live version, that realistic fuel values may come into play here, and the Caterpillar may not be able to one-shot this journey like it is right now. A journey of this length might be something that a Hull D or a Hull E or a much larger ship might be able to complete in one single hop, but Caterpillar probably, it might have that range. I guess we'll have to wait and see how the balancing and the travel time and all of that works out with CIG, because once again, these are things that are in flux. They aren't, set in stone. But if you have to think about somebody having to make fuel stops along the way, then that's only going to increase, the travel time. So the idea of, let's say, well, I'll get in a Retaliator and I'm going to hunt that guy down with my Retaliator. Really? Don't forget to stop for gas once or twice along the way. Oh, I'm going to bring fighters and I'm going to show that guy what's up. Okay, well, I'll see you in about 40 minutes after you've stopped 5 or 6 times to refuel along the way. That is, unless you're traveling with a Kraken. Now, at this point, you may say, oh God, well, Great. So my org doesn't have a Kraken. We can't afford it, or none of us got the opportunity to buy it. However that shook out for you. You don't have one. You're like, well, great. So now we're just going to get interdicted when we're trying to run cargo. We can't get help to ourselves when we need it. So, we're just going to get crushed. Great. Fantastic. This is the worst day ever. Not exactly, because remember what I was talking about making bookmarks and making little in-between spots that are private to you. Think about it as kind of like moving a ship through the ocean. You know there's a U-boat out there, but you keep zigzagging, keep changing your course to avoid, keep screwing up the targeting solution of a torpedo that's kind of fired at you, expecting you to be here when you're actually there. You don't have to travel along these straight lines from Microtech to Crusader, Microtech to Hurston, or wherever. You don't have to do the straight lines. You can set your own bookmarks while you're out exploring and just doing shit like this, and then you can zigzag yourself across space as long as you've got the fuel and the fuel efficiency, and that's something that we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen any depth to the fuel system. Can we change up engines and fuel tanks? So maybe we pay a little bit of a price and speed, but we increase our range, how far we can hop a ship like this. It may be entirely possible that with the right configuration, a ship like the Caterpillar could make this journey in one hop in the final version of the game. And I think it would be a real missed opportunity if CIG didn't allow us that depth of control and that depth of customization with our ships. So, I mean, that's kind of why I come down on the idea of the interdiction bubble so hard, because ultimately it's stupid, because it's so easily avoided. I mean, at the point where you can set your own bookmarks and you can travel between spaces, stop, set a bookmark, travel to another place, stop, set a bookmark, you can create a zigzag pattern, basically bouncing between 2 or 3 planets, create a couple, just a line that's almost a bit of a curve in between 2 points, so you're not following that straight line between Crusader and Microtech. All of a sudden, interdiction spheres, worthless. And it's not going to take all that much brain power to figure that out. So don't specifically need a Kraken. You don't need one there all the time if you're smart about it, because now we're working with so much more distance, and that opens so many doors and so many possibilities for creative ways around problems. Now, some people might say, oh, well, then CIG is going to go, oh, yeah, well, you know what? Now you can't make bookmarks. Oh, well, that's just super challenging, because you could easily warp in the direction of another planet. Let's say you were going to Microtech like we are right now, but instead you warp towards Hurston for a couple of minutes, shut off your quantum drive, and then go towards Microtech. Now you're once again off that axis, and you can now travel in a straight line. The only thing you're going to have to worry about is an NPC interdicting you. And guess what? I don't know if you've played the game recently, but NPCs, not all that smart and not all that dangerous. Even if you only have like a few caterpillars traveling together, swap those stupid guns out on the turrets for those Revenant size 4 death ballistic autocannons. Think about that. I mean, the Hammerhead alone is pretty lethal, but those, you're going to shred those ships. You're absolutely going to shred those ships unless you're completely incompetent in the turret. And once again, you can stick NPCs in those turrets and let them defend your ship for you, as long as they're, good. Now, if you think about some of the cargo that you buy on Yellow, let's say you buy iron at R-Corp Mining. You take it to Olisar, what do you get for it? What, a nickel on the dollar, if you're lucky? Something like that? What do you think R-Corp, a factory planet across the solar system, is going to pay for it? What do you think your profit margin is going to be then? If you expand that to your whole org working together to buy a ship like the Kraken, all those cargo ships that you may have in your org all working together, protecting each other. You don't have to worry about players interdicting you now, because it would be pretty damn random if they could actually snag you. Maybe some NPCs, but now they're going to be flying into a fleet of cargo ships working together. NPCs, not the brightest ships in the universe, so not too much to worry about there. Working together as a group, you may be able to afford a Kraken in a relatively short amount of time, as long as you're efficient and smart about it. Now, for the less legally inclined players out there, what do you get for a load of Widow that you pick up at Jumptown and take to Grim Hex? Some decent cash, right? Because that's a high value commodity. What do you think that's going to be worth on R-Corp? What do you think that's going to be worth on Microtech or Hurston? Probably a heck of a lot more. Now, of course, it is something of a specialty good, and it's entirely possible that that stuff is going to be made out there on one of the moons around Hurston or R-Corp or whatever. But, you know, we know that certain things are limited to certain areas, so it may yet still be something that's very valuable over there. And here we are, Microtech. Well, the Microtech marker. Of course, these are a lot of things that we're going to have to wait and see to get fleshed out in the game. But the good news is that with the travel times that we have now, and with the next year, what's coming into the game and what we can expect while we're traveling these immense distances, we're going to have a lot of time to think about these things. So I hope I brought a few interesting ideas to the table. One other thing to think about is if the NPC ships in the universe, and remember that 9-to-1 ratio of 9 NPCs for every 1 player, are also competing with you to deliver goods, and they're taking these straight lines through space, these predictable travel routes, whereas you're being smart and avoiding them. What do you think pirates are going to be doing to your main competition?
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.